monitoring that for everyone to answer. So now we are live on Facebook. Welcome, Facebook people, to the Roundtable. So let me introduce myself and then we can pass it on. So my name is Jocelyn Jeffries. I am one of the Arts Ed 2020-2021 interns. I am also the host of the Past and Present Performance series. The other intern for Arts Ed NJ is Tu Chow, and I'll pass it over to her.
Hi, my name is Tu Chow Lee, and I am a marketing intern for Arts Ed NJ. We also have another host here with us. We have a representative from Unison. I'll pass it over to him.
Hello, my name is Andrew E Morrison. I'm the founder of the student-led organization Unison, and I am also a student at Westchester University, where I am doing a double major in music education and saxophone performance.
Okay, awesome. So those are your hosts, and now we're going to meet our panelists. More may come in later, but for right now, we are going to start with Greg.
Hello, people of the internet. My name is Gregory Nekrasovis. I'm a senior at Rowan University. Go Profs. I'm a Bachelor of Science in Music Industry with a concentration in business and a minor in Spanish. I was just about to slip on my words. My apologies. But anyway, I'm graduating in December, so fingers crossed I get a job after this pandemic is over with. But most importantly, I am the co-creator of the new virtual musical, L'Anello de Socrates, which is premiering virtually November 20th. So, yeah, that's all about me for now.
Okay, awesome. So our next panelist is Calvin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Calvin Bell III. I am currently a freshman at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. Right now on the liberal arts track, and hopefully I will be majoring in philosophy, politics, and law with a possible double major in computer science or something else, still figuring it out.
Okay, awesome. Our next panelist is Dominique.
Hi, I'm Dominique. I'm in Montclair State University. I'm a freshman. I come from Bayonne, New Jersey, and I am majoring in animation/illustration, but I'm going to focus on the animation track. And I enjoy drawing both traditionally and digitally, and I'm hoping to get a career somewhere in the digital side, and that's about it.
Okay, awesome. So our last panelist is Brendan.
Hi everyone, my name is Brendan Collins. I'm a senior at Rancocas Valley Regional High School in Mount Holly, New Jersey. I'm a member of my school's Thespian Society, and I'm also a New Jersey Thespian State Thespian Officer.
Brendan is an STO along with me, and it was so nice to see a familiar face. So now I will pass it over to Tu Chow, who will be starting our game.
All right, so as a little icebreaker for everyone, we're going to be playing two truths and a lie. Does everyone know how to play? Just in case? No? All right, so basically each person, one by one, will say three statements about him or herself, and two of these statements are facts or truths, and one must be a lie. After you tell all three, the other participants must try to guess which statement is that lie. All right, I'll start it off. So my first statement is, I used to live in Florida. My second statement is, I have two sisters. And my last statement is, I have a pet dog.
Is it that you used to live in Florida?
No.
Oh.
You don't have two sisters, right?
I do have two sisters.
You do? Oh.
I was going to say the pet dog.
Yes, my dog is living with my aunt right now.
Aww.
Great. I'll pass it on to Greg.
Sure. So, trying to think. All right. I have a pet dog. I have a pet cat. And I'm an enthusiast in memes.
What was the last one?
I'm a meme enthusiast. So pick away.
You do not have a pet cat.
You are correct. I do not have a pet cat. I have family friends that have a pet cat. My dog is upstairs. His name is Mikey. He's absolutely adorable. And I'm going to pass it on to, I guess, why don't we give it to Dominique?
Might as well. I have a dog. I have two brothers, and I used to play volleyball.
You didn't used to play volleyball, did you?
I did used to play volleyball.
I would say it's the dog.
Oh, I do have a dog. So the obvious one is that I do not have two brothers. I only have one brother, and I have one sister. I guess we can pass it on to Brendan.
Let's see. I have no pets. I have two brothers. And I made a short film about magic orange juice.
I'm going to say the two brothers one.
Yes, I only have one brother.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There we go.
I will pass it on to Calvin.
Okay. So I am allergic to peanuts. I collect records, and I like the beach.
You're not allergic to peanuts.
No, I'm not allergic to anything, actually.
Yeah.
And then I'll pass it to Andrew.
All right. I have never been skiing. I love cheese, and I also love Christmas music.
I'm gonna say the Christmas music.
No, that is true.
Oh.
Yes.
That you've never been skiing.
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Is that everybody?
Yeah, that's everyone except for me, but I don't need to go. Unless you strongly protest.
I strongly protest.
Might as well.
All of my people in my family, their initials are JPJ. I am living alone. And I'm trying to think of just things. And I love country music.
You don't love country music.
No, I actually hate it. So good job. When you grow up in the middle of New Jersey, surrounded by it, you either love it or you hate it. And I've chosen to hate it. So now we will be starting questions. So the first question is from Andrew.
All right. So with the pandemic very much disrupting our normal routines and our normal ways about making either music or art, how have you adapted in creative ways to keep yourself creating any sort of art throughout the pandemic? If anybody wants to jump in.
Well, one thing I've done is I actually just stocked up on a bunch of art materials. And since I live on campus and we're pretty much isolated most of the time, every time I finish a class, I tend to go on the floor and just put my art on the floor and draw or paint whenever I can. Just kind of like staying in if I'm quarantining, I might as well should create while I'm indoors. And I also draw while I'm in class sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
If I knew how to draw, I would definitely be doing that all the time, but I cannot draw. I can replicate, but I can't draw. But anyway, I guess during the pandemic, the perfect example is my musical. You know, it was supposed to be in person, but by the time the pandemic hit in March, and then cases kind of simmered down a little bit in May-ish, there was a little bit of a shot that it could happen in person. And then the summer happened, and then my collaborator and I were like, well, we have to make it virtual. So now we're in this position where we have to create something that is completely new and completely different and, you know, unforeseen to us and to the people that we're working on the show with. And in terms of, you know, staying creative during the pandemic, I'm very fortunate enough to have my own small little recording studio setup that was in my bedroom, but I moved into my basement. So throughout June, July, and August, I released music on my own Spotify page, and that's been keeping the creative muses going throughout the summer, especially when I was supposed to be lifeguarding, but unfortunately because of the pandemic, none of the pools were available. But yeah, definitely keeping busy creatively through recording, producing, working on the show was definitely a really wonderful opportunity to have.
So to piggyback off of that, my skills have been used in a different way. I actually did two different things during quarantine. For one, I started a social justice podcast. So utilizing my voice in order to speak out on a lot of the issues going on now within society. And I thought that that was impactful. I'm really into public speaking, oration. And so being able to utilize that part of my artistry to articulate my opinions on the different issues on in the world, that was something that I was really happy about. But then also alongside one of my friends from high school, I started a virtual platform for Black-owned businesses. And so trying to ensure that we can tell the stories of Black-owned businesses during this time is more vital than ever. And I definitely was excited to be able to take part in both of these projects before coming to college and starting here at Emory.
So to interject, Jessica from the attendees asks, what is the name of your podcast? And then a question for me is, where can we find it?
Okay. So my podcast is called Two Black Church Boys Churched in Change. And so it was started at my church alongside my mentor, William Lee. And basically we're two different ages and we think differently. However, what we have similarly is the impact of our own religion, but also our love for activism and social justice, and just talking about what's in the news now. So we tried to pair those two together. And right now we're on multiple platforms, including Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube and other platforms. And so we are very excited that we were able to start it during this time.
Yeah, I agree that this pandemic has definitely opened up a lot of time, especially during the summer, because you can't really go outside with everything going on. So it allowed me per se to try and pursue individual interests with art and more specifically media. Every year I've performed with a theater company over the summer as time away from school, and because of the pandemic, we decided to write, direct, and stage our own play based off of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. That went up in August, and it was a moderate success. And on my own personal time, I also started a podcast entitled This Was a Bad Idea, more of a way to try and connect with people I hadn't seen in several months due to the pandemic. And that you can also find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a few other.
I'm on my phone right now following all of these. And I will listen to them later when I bike.
We appreciate that.
Awesome. So this next question is kind of a little fun one. If 2020 was a song, what would it be?
Jocelyn, this one is specifically for you because you hate country music. No, but this is for everybody too. So there is this indie country artist named Rustin Kelly who used to be married to Grammy Award winning Casey Musgraves. And he wrote this song in April called Brave, which is on his second album, Shape and Destroy. And I almost cried while listening to it because it's a simple little acoustic ballad, yet it talks about, you know, his personal battles. And it really, like, in the grand scheme of things, is like, oh my God, this actually kind of speaks to me. And it kind of speaks to how we're all like facing this pandemic together, regardless of our views. So, my song, or my 2020 song, is Brave by Rustin Kelly. If you want me to type it in, I'll type it in so everybody can listen to it.
I looked it up.
Sweet.
So actually recently Drake dropped a song that was entitled Laugh Now and Cry Later. And I think it was the opposite for many people, especially those that were seniors like myself. And I think Dominique, you said you were a freshman, so it was your senior year too. It definitely hit us hard. So many people wanted to cry, but for me, it was more so laughing and trying to now cherish the moments I had, the time that I had with my family and everyone. And I think that I've seen that a lot more, that people are just observing life and just laughing at this moment, because we'll honestly look back at this moment and think, wow, like we really went through 2020 and so many things happened in one year. And so it's a matter of laughing now and crying later, maybe, but more so just thinking about this year as a whole.
So I had a song in mind that would be easy for everybody to understand or know, but there's actually another song I know that probably not many people would know this artist, but I think it relates more since this artist actually made the song because of quarantine when it first started. And the artist's name is Drolo, Droeloe, and it's like an EDM artist. And they made a song called I Can't Wait. And one of the main lyrics in the chorus is, I can't wait to listen to the sun, to go outside and not be the only one. So it's like talking about how I can't wait till all this is over and we all get to go outside and be together again and socialize and just enjoy the fresh air without worrying about anything. So that song really like spoke to me, and also had nice little instrument stuff in there too. But overall, I really like the lyrics, and I think it just matches with this pandemic.
Going off of what Calvin said, this really is a time where we just have to try and look at the good things that are going on right now. We'll look back in this and we'll laugh at everything. So as simple as is the song Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, is on the nose as the title and lyrics kind of are. They do kind of reflect what we're going through right now and what this experience is going to be like.
So I picked the song My Future by Billie Eilish, specifically because for everybody that's our age, whatever the future is, we have the control and the power to influence what that looks like, because we're going to be on this earth for a lot longer than a lot of other people who are older making decisions about really everything in the world. So when you kind of look to the future in regards to thinking about hope and optimism, that's something that we can really look forward to, because we have a lot of control over what the future could look like for the next generations that come after us.
So I'm going to interject with a question, which is from Jessica. Do you feel like you have had to take arts education in your own hands, or do you still feel supported from educators? And either way, how does that make you feel?
I can answer this. So, you know, for me, being a music major, we rely a lot on having ensembles and having concerts and all that jazz to keep us going throughout the school year. And without that, everybody knows how important it is that we have the opportunities and have the ability to make music, but the opportunities are going to look a little bit different because of all the social distancing and just making sure that health and safety is the priority. Um, and everybody knows how important it is for us to have it, but there is an element of we have to guide our own learning and we have to take ownership a little bit of what we're doing with our own time, knowing that anything that is arts related, you do put some of yourself into. So it just kind of emphasizes the need to put yourself into your craft a little bit more during this time. But we absolutely have the support from our teachers in doing so. So.
If I can piggyback off of that, talking about the way in which students kind of mobilize around the arts too, is very important. So being on campus, I auditioned for an a cappella group, which I got into. And so, thank you. Just to see the way in which the students have adapted to the circumstances at hand, and doing everything virtually. It wasn't the way in which I thought auditions would to be over Zoom, singing to a virtual piano. But it was something that was different. And the fact that students are still keeping their heads up and having the optimism and the excitement behind the arts is something that I really enjoy seeing. That there is still excitement around what the arts can do in moving society, no matter if we are in person or virtual, the arts can happen and adapt in different ways. And so not only is it the adults encouraging us, but it's also encouraging each other to continue mobilizing around the arts.
I can agree with that 100%. To answer your question, Jessica, it's a yes and no type of thing. Yes, because I feel that specifically my band director, Dr. Joseph Edward Higgins, shout out Dr. Higgins, he has been a personal inspiration, I think, to me as a musician, but also as an artist and as a student to kind of take what we're doing in the band classroom and now virtually in our own homes or dorm rooms and apply it to real life. And also, you know, he as well as many of the music industry professors and faculty in my department have, you know, not necessarily had to do a hard reset, which is what a lot of educators and professors might think they're doing, but instead they're taking what they already have and reinventing it. You know, I learned that from Oscar Eustis, who's a Tony Award winning producer of musicals like Fun Home and of course Hamilton. And he said, rather than, you know, stopping completely, you have to kind of reset and, you know, take a look at where you are now and just reinvent the art form. And partially that is done independently, you know, without anybody else's assistance. You know, that's our own responsibility. But, you know, through the support of the professors doing it as well, that kind of encourages me, and it encourages a lot of my peers as well to do the same.
I would say that for my own school, the arts educators are doing what they can. Obviously, this is a situation that no one could have prepared for. And even with this fall, it's still difficult to try and get these things together to figure out how to continue our education. But likewise, I feel like a lot of students at my school are taking it upon themselves to try and continue their arts education outside of school. That's what the question is.
I honestly really feel like social media plays a big role in all of this, just because, just like what Andrew and Calvin were talking about, we have to, in a way, take it into our own hands sometimes to do what we need to do for being an arts major. And also, if you're like a traditional artist, visual artist, you need like supplies. And it's kind of hard to get those supplies you need right now. Some things I had to get by myself from the craft store. And even with COVID, some things aren't even coming in for another 2 weeks. We still don't have supplies we need. But with social media, there's a lot of so many kids supporting kids, students are all supporting each other. We have a lot of group chats here on my campus where we're all trying to help each other out to share each other's art or just spread the word about what we want to do, what we have to do, and what we have to offer. And there's even a group chat that's making a zine, which is like a little mini magazine, which is like a compilation of drawings and artwork, media, and they're making it for a Halloween theme. And it's pretty cool to know that everybody here is helping out each other. Even though we all are taking it up into our own hands a little bit, we still get support by our peers and by the teachers too. They're doing their best to help us out. That's pretty much all I got.
So I can jump in and ask a question. So this is a very specific question about National Arts Ed Week, a great week for us to really revel in that at least we have one of the 4 disciplines, and that it's so earth shaping and life shaping. So one of our hashtags that we are using on all of our posts is because of arts ed. So I would love for each of us, including the hosts, to talk about their story. And we're going to be doing about 3 minutes max for each person, but whoever wants to go first can go first. Let's hear your arts ed story.
Okay, so for me, my journey in the arts actually kind of began when I started high school. Obviously, back in elementary school and grammar school, I was part of the choir and all that, but I wasn't actually really invested in it until high school, my freshman year, when I participated in my first musical, 1776. And from there on, I kind of just started getting more involved. I started doing all different kind of things, stage crew as a cast member, and if I couldn't participate in it, I ushered in the front of the house. I helped with concessions and all that. And I feel like arts just helps build you as a person. It helps you hone the skills like communication, teamwork, and especially public speaking skills, because I know a lot of people struggle with that. I struggled with that a lot. And participating in the arts helped me overcome that. I'm still a little shaky, but I'm still building on it. And even now, even during the pandemic, where I know my school is trying its best to find ways to do a fall play, a spring musical, we're still trying to do things as a thespian group. So yeah.
So my story really was I guess started when I was little, where I would just like be in the car making up like songs, outrageous songs, like things out of the blue with anything that I could think of. And my family has stories about that, just me making up songs. And then when I got to elementary and middle school, I was always involved in the arts. And I think that was during the time where I was just testing things out. So I maybe tried out 3 different instruments before learning that I was not going to be in a band. And then I tried drawing, where I realized I was not going to be a drawer. Like I could not draw at all whatsoever. And so then I stuck with choir in elementary school, and I enjoyed it so much. We had a show choir at my school. Someone started a club, so I was a part of that. And then when I got to middle school, I knew that the choir was like you had to be picked for it. So I tried to try out for it, and eventually got in. And I loved my music teacher so much. She changed my perspective, not only in music, but also just how to be a better person as a whole, and to be a young man going out into society. And so when I got to high school, I didn't think I was going to continue it. But then I forgot my physical for soccer. So my mom heard that the musical was going to be Charlie Brown. and that's her favorite like show, movie. And so she told me to try out for it. And so I tried out for it, and I was like, I'll see what happens. It ended up getting the role of Pigpen, and since then I stuck with it and did all the musicals, and then got involved in the plays because I learned that how the music and the acting kind of corresponds with each other. So I also enjoyed the acting aspect, and then got into the choir. And then we recently, our school, high school started a cappella group. And so I did that for 2 years. And then that's really what propelled me to continue it on in college now. But besides music, I also was very in tune with writing and oration and oratory. So I was a part of the NAACP ACT-SO competition. And that really changed the way in which I saw the arts as well. So the arts has always been ingrained in anything that I do.
I too started at a young age. I kind of really took off with drawing, like just drawing around in the margins of tests or random papers I would find. And when I was probably in grade school, like elementary, I know I went to some art classes and tried out doing pencil sketching, painting even at a young age. And it really wasn't until I got to, I think, 8th grade, 7th grade, where some teachers were putting me in contests, told me, oh, put your art into contests. And then I would actually win some prizes from them. And I was like, oh, this is really fun. And then I got to high school, and that's when the contest became like a real big deal where you really had to put all your effort into it. If it really wasn't for the contest, I wouldn't have realized my potential and pushed myself further. And then I met a couple of art teachers in my high school years who really have stuck with me. Like I even keep in touch with them now to this day, that they have helped me to see what I can do, put me in random spots to do different types of painting, like oil painting, acrylic. And I got into digital nearly in my senior year. When I first started my senior year, I started digital, and I realized from watching a bunch of movies, because I've always been into movies, and I wanted to animate just like all the animations out there, anime shows, movies, TV, film, and I wanted my art to be a show. And so I decided I would take up animation, and I had gotten an iPad to draw on my senior year. And so that's where my art turned into digital art, but I still do both. And where I realized that I can really turn my art into real life stories to put out there and actually animate for people to see and understand and view. And that's how I've just gradually become mix of digital, mix of traditional.
I would say that, again, for me, my appreciation for the arts started at a very early age. I've been doing choir since I was in elementary school, and I've continued doing that throughout the years, even until now. I played the trombone for 4 years, my middle school band. The first show that I ever did was in 5th grade, and since then, that kind of established my love for theater. The arts have always provided me with an escape for whenever I'm stressed or something's going on. It's always been the one thing I can turn to when I need to stop thinking about that, just let all the creative juices flow. So I've continued doing that into high school. As I mentioned before, I'm a member of my school's thespian society now. Eventually, I started branching out beyond the acting portion of what I've been doing for shows. A few years back, I helped out with crew on a show. I helped design a set, I ran lights, and it definitely opened up in my mind like, wow, there's a lot of opportunities for people in the arts, not just what most people would think about. And in the past year or two, I've been helping to usher for several local theaters. Of course, that's kind of come to a halt with COVID taking place. But yeah, it's always provided me with just an escape, and it's something that I want to continue doing.
So my story is pretty much the exactly the same as everyone else's now. I'm teasing a little bit, but yeah, I started out like singing just randomly when I was 5, 6 years old. Took up the trumpet, then quickly switched to baritone horn, and then throughout elementary, middle school, and high school, everybody knew me as the guy who played the tuba. And then in college, actually before college, when I got into high school, I loved music. I originally thought I was going to do music ed, but then my sort of passion for the law, um, specifically like constitutional law and civil law, kicked in a little bit. So I was like, let me try and do entertainment law when I do college. So when I got into different colleges, ultimately I went to Rowan, of course, because of it was a very select few group of people at the time, and I felt like I could make a positive impact on people there, something like that. And when I was at Rowan, I originally was just strictly entertainment law. I'll be an executive at a record label or something at a record label before I become an executive. Go to law school and all that fun stuff. But then the theater bug kicked in because I never really considered myself like a theater kid or a big theater nerd. Um, but I've always had a deep appreciation for the art form. And I had my musical idea, Linnell, in the back of my pocket. And I emailed the producer. He invited me to his conference. And come November of 2018, that conference pretty much just changed my life and it changed my whole career path. And now, thanks to him, as well as the support from my parents, my friends, my family, my professors, etc., I know what the arts has done for me, and I know, like, I guess my purpose in life is to produce theater to give people like yourselves the opportunity to thrive in this environment, pandemic or no pandemic. So the arts has always been a creative muse. It's always been a very expressive platform for me, but it's also been an area of advocacy for me because I know how much the arts, sometimes people give it a bad rep, and we're the ones that are going to say no, not at all. In fact, this is what we do, and this is how we're going to do it. And we change people's mindsets on that in a very good way, great way. So that's all about me in a nutshell.
Hello. So my story is, it's unique to me. I come from a really, really musical and artistic family. Both my parents are percussionists. My sister played viola and violin. She was a singer. Even my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, we all appreciate the arts on an awesome level. I started playing the saxophone when I was in third grade. Um, it was something that I was naturally pretty all right at, but I didn't really start to appreciate the art form until I got to middle school. And I started making music more spontaneously with a lot of my friends on our own time away from the actual classroom. And that was something that was really special. But it really wasn't until my sophomore year of high school when I did a performance of a really slow aria at a festival. And after I finished it, the judges and many people in the audience, they had tears in their eyes. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like insane. That's really crazy. I didn't know that like that was possible. And to to visibly see the emotions that were created because of your own art, and especially doing it without words, doing it with just sound and instrument, that was like really, really powerful and impactful for me. So, and that was definitely where I knew that no matter what I was going to do in my life, because at that point there were a whole bunch of options. I knew that music needed to be front and center, and ever since then, my appreciation for all other art forms, especially theater, dance, visual art, like music impacts all of that, and I've really found a deeper appreciation for what that is for the human experience because of that. So.
Jocelyn, would you like to share?
Um, sure. I don't know why I was like completely blanking. So, mine is, I guess, strange because I'm art in kind of a like, I don't know, different way. I do film, and And so I've been in theater since I was like 6. I wanted to be an actress since I was 6. And then I was on that path and I was doing it. I got my first lead role in 4th grade. I was really engaging with it and I was ready to go and I was going to do all the agents and all of it. But then, thank goodness we waited, because freshman year, I did a musical in high school and I was like, oh, wow, I don't love this. And I fell out of love with theater. Like, I still love it, as in, like, I enjoy watching it, but I don't enjoy performing it as much anymore. And also, I have terrible memory, so I'm bad at remembering lines properly. And so I was in a really weird depressive state for probably a couple months, and then I was like, what am I gonna do now? And so my dad gave me a crumpled little shriveled, like, a newspaper clipping, and he was like, hey, you want to go to this film camp? You're not doing anything anyway. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll go to the film camp. And I was like, I don't know anything about film. I know how to write scripts because I wrote 1 or 2 in 4th grade or whatever. And so then I went and I just loved it. It like clicked. It was so strange. And so then since then I've been making films for about 3 years now. I have over 15 on my YouTube channel, and more created which didn't make the cut. And I won the Governor's Award this year for one of my recent films, Married Life. And that was thank you. And that was what really like confirmed that this is what I'm meant to do. And so it's just how my brain works. Like, I see the world in film, I listen to music, and I think about the way I could cut this scene and all of it. And so that's what I want to do with my life, and that's my path. And yeah, I'm working on a film now, and I will never stop not working on a film. Or if that made any sense at all. Oh, and I'm a writer, director, and editor. Those are my main ones. And then the other ones I just happen to do as well. I enjoy cinematography and I know how to use it correctly, and I enjoy music and I know how to use it, but I'm not a fantastic cinematographer, and I am not a fantastic musician at all. I did clarinet for like a year and it was terrible for me, but I really respect people who understand it because I don't. Um, so yeah, I just am so thankful for Arts Ed because it guided my life. It is something so integral to be for who I am. And now I have this amazing internship, which also changed it for me, where like this is my first internship that I can put on resumes, and it's something that is related, and it's just very exciting. So thank you, Arts Ed. Thank you for making me.
Oh, can I butt in real quick?
Absolutely.
I just think that with all the arts majors, anything in the arts is just like so lively. I feel like there's something alive about any type of art-related subject, like whether you sing or dance or play an instrument or film, do photography. I feel like all those things, they bring they brighten up the world and just put more character into everything. And I feel like it doesn't matter if, like, I was in the Thespian Society, New Jersey Thespian Society, and I don't do acting, I don't sing, but I always enjoyed it. Like, everybody's always interested in it. And I feel like that's why it's still necessary no matter what. Even if they say you can't survive on art, you can survive because it helps you get through your stress, your depression. And I just feel like there's always something great about it. That's why it's still just great to have. And I'm glad that people still support me for that.
Absolutely. Oh, Andrew. After Andrew speaks, we have one last question and then we have to wrap it up. But Andrew?
Oh, I was just elevating what you said because that was a really good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So just one last question before we really get into it. I was going to end it there on that eloquent note, but then we got a question from Zara. Or Zaria, I don't know. I'm so sorry. She says, what is something you would say to your younger audience that wants to pursue a career in the arts?
I have said this to myself. I've said this to friends in conversation, but be unique. The theater is a beast of an industry to get into, and it's extremely, extremely competitive. As many of the shows that are on Broadway that are actually backtrack a little bit, as many of the shows that are on Broadway, there are hundreds of other shows globally and in the United States that do not make it to Broadway, as good as they are. And I feel that there's something unique about the creator, or there's something unique about piece itself that will allow the audience to connect on a level, whether it's commercially or critically or a little bit of both, that will allow for a really unique, transcendent experience overall to happen. You know, Hamilton's a great example of that. It's unique because it takes something that nobody would have thought of initially, but it turned into the most popular show in the world, even in this pandemic. So be unique as an artist, as a business person, because sometimes in the arts you do have to think of yourself as an entrepreneur, as my professor Jay Sean Diaz said literally yesterday to me. But yeah, be unique, be your own person, and don't let anybody stop you.
I would say explore, brighten your curiosity, try something new. There is a tremendous avenue in terms of the arts, and I think sometimes the way the arts is described is that those that make money are the ones that are on stage or singing or doing the concerts and everything. But we don't usually spotlight those that are behind the scenes, that are putting the show together, that are making sure that the advertisement for the artist is nice and bright and big on the screen. We never talk about the people who really form the art itself. And so by exploring the different avenues and trying to find ways to intersect not only the arts, but maybe the arts and sciences together, for example, or the arts and humanities together. Try to find the avenues that you're really interested in and just try it out, because that's how I instantly found my passions and my hobbies and everything, because I tried it out and learned I'm not good at this, I'm good at this, I like this and I don't like this. And as younger people, I think that that's how you should live your life. Not to desire, you can desire it, but you have so much time to really explore before it has to be something.
I wanted to just piggyback off of what Gregory said about how Hamilton, nobody would have known about it until somebody really put their heart and soul into it, and then all of a sudden it's popular. I would say just be really passionate about what it is you want to go into, because if you really believe in it and you enjoy it genuinely, then you can actually really make a living out of it, and it won't be something that you'll regret in the future. And also to really make connections now as soon as you can, because it really will help you in the long run. I still speak to my old teachers from high school, because spreading the word of whatever it is you have to offer is great, because everyone wants to hear what you have to offer in the arts. It's really fun.
I'd say the
Okay.
most.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I'll be quick. I'd say the most important aspect is to find what makes you happy. Because no matter what you're going to be doing, the arts is what's inspiring you. And there's a lot of things that you can do in the arts, whether it's film, TV, theater. You have to ask yourself, what makes me happy? What do you love about doing the arts? And then that's how you find the avenue of what you want to be doing. That's how you find where your passions go, essentially.
So, with all that that's all, every single one of you has such inspirational understanding of what we should do with art and how we should present our art and how we should engage with art. And I'm so thankful to have your voices here. And one of the setter-uppers, one of the organizers of tonight's event, also was very thankful for your voice and thankful for your thoughts and your inspirational understanding. And so we have one more question, and it's very quick. But also Priscilla Hopkins Smith, one of the people from Arts Ed and J, also said that if you want to be an ambassador for your school, if you want to be an Arts Ed ambassador, go to artsednow.org. Let me double check before I am insanely embarrassed. Yes, artsednow.org, and look into it, because every single one of you would make such a big difference, and everyone in the audience could make such a big difference. And so here is a question that we'll have two people answer, and then we will wrap up, because this conversation is going on for a long time, but is extraordinary. So the last question is, how can students be more intentional with their level of advocacy for the arts?
So I can answer this one, and I can also bridge that into everything that I'm working on with Unison. So I'll just do that all in one kind of answer. So back in March, when the pandemic was first starting, I started up an organization with a couple friends called Unison, Younison. It's supposed to be a play on the word unison, which is a musical term, which means all together. And basically we had a bunch of ideas for what we actually wanted to do with it, but then the pandemic started to become way more intense than most of us were anticipating. You know what I'm saying? So pretty quickly we started to realize that schools were going all virtual. So we made a worldwide day of gratitude, which took place in April. And basically what that was, we had people that participated from all over the country, and as well as in various other countries. And we took the song Lean on Me by Bill Withers, and many people did their own version of it and posted it on social media with the hashtag Lean on Us. And it was supposed to be an honor and to thank all of the heroes of the pandemic, many of the first responders, just for what they were doing. And it was really awesome because even beyond just any musical performances, there are a lot of people that went out of their way and they made visual artistic representation of what that song inspired. You know, you had people that were able to do some poetry type of deal. You had people that went up and they did their own dances, and it was just highlighting the arts as a way to say thank you. And now here we are, a bunch of months later, and one of our main issues when we were coming up with Unison as a concept was the fact that we're still living in a world and in a country where many people in our own schools, whether it's our peers, whether it's other teachers, whether it's superintendents, people that actually make the decisions for what the experience is going to look like for each student through the school, who still don't fully understand why we actually have music and arts education in the first place. And that was kind of bothersome to me because it's so important. And oftentimes when people are advocating for music education, well, specifically music, because that's where I come from, people will go about and they'll say, oh, we need it because it helps with your test scores, and it's a great place to be, and the community aspect. And there are all these wonderful arguments for why we should have the arts, but it still hasn't ranked to the point where people truly understand. And I think part of that is being highlighted right now because in the middle of a pandemic, while all the schools are going between trying to figure out how to be virtual or do a hybrid scenario, and just education looking completely different everywhere, and every single student is going through their own issues, and people have their own trauma from based on how they were dealing with this pandemic overall. And yet there are still programs all across the country who are cutting their music and arts education programs or reducing what they would normally be, basically resurfacing various arts teachers or various music teachers to be a babysitter for the math class or be a babysitter for the history class, as opposed to actually going in there and being able to teach the subject and allowing the students to have the opportunities that we all need to get through the rest of the pandemic. And it's not a secret to any of us who are sitting on this panel right now that we fully understand why we need music and arts education in the first place. We all just spent the last 50 minutes talking about our own individual experiences, and it would be preaching to the choir. But at the end of the day, the choir is really small. And when we preach inwards to each other, that's great because it serves as an awesome reminder. But we need to be preaching outwards to the people who didn't actually have that empowering experience of music and arts education when they were in school, Because for us, we are the result of music and arts education becoming a core subject 20 years ago. For anybody that was in school before that, they didn't actually they didn't go to a school in a country where it was documented as equal. And that's really, 20 years ago, that's not too far out from, what we've been doing. And the fact that it's happening everywhere, where programs are really being reduced and in some cases eliminated, it then highlights the question of how do we advocate for now and how do we advocate for the future? And there are two components to what that could look like. And I'm going to start with the national one. And so what we did is we created a movement through Unison for #OurEducation. And the point of the movement is to elevate the conversation of the fact that the education system is one that really hasn't been working for everybody. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to reimagine what education is going to look like for the future. And whatever that actually looks like, music and arts education needs to be in that conversation. And I think it needs to be in the conversation so much that it needs to be in the front of the conversation, because we are completely underestimating what music and arts education does for individuals, but what it does for the actual school community and culture itself. And the students, we all understand that because we have those experiences. The music and arts teachers, they understand that because if they didn't, they wouldn't be teaching the subject. Yet there's still this massive disconnect with other people within each of the local communities on why we actually have music and arts education. So from a national perspective, with music classes, we have our concerts, and that is a big motivator, concerts and festivals, for what we do going forward in having like a splendid experience if you're a student. And we're not having those concerts, we're not having those in-person festivals this year. And that's a huge blow, especially when you're a senior in high school and part of what you were looking for your senior year could have been your final concert or your marching band competitions, and you get to have senior night and all that jazz. I had that experience. Most people have had that experience, and now they don't get to have that experience. But the experience that seniors do get to have is redefining what legacy can look like for that class. We have to go in to all the local school districts, and the art students need to step up and start going to the board meetings and start going to parents within each local community, start going to other students within the local community, start going to the teachers within the local community, and express the need for why we need music and arts education now more than ever. Like we've always needed it before, but during a pandemic, we need it now more than ever. And on our website, we have some materials for how you can actually go about doing that at the local level. And it's something that people within the music communities can do. And it's something that within all the other arts disciplines, people can step up and work together and just like take turns and come up with ideas for how you can get music and arts in the faces of your local community. And if every local community starts to do that, then all of a sudden we're talking about all future students going into a school system that was the result of our movement. So they are now dealing with the result of, wow, they took this whole entire year and made music and arts education that big of a deal. And now it's not a question anymore on whether or not if we need it, because for some reason it's still a question. And then from the national standpoint, like I said before, like music, we have our concerts that we need. And without those concerts, it can be kind of a question mark of how people stay motivated with what they're going to do. And with our Worldwide Day of Gratitude that we did in April, it kind of showed us how easy it is to have everybody unify behind a singular day and just post their performances or post their creations. And it makes sense that if we're going to be doing virtual concerts and have virtual opportunities, that we all do it together, because then it just creates more of a splash within the internet, more of a splash through the various social medias and algorithms. And by doing that, and if we all do it together, it'll start to push music and arts education, how we're adapting and the importance of it into the national spotlight in a way that it hasn't yet been in the national spotlight. And to have students be the ones pushing for this and pushing for the future with music and arts education, it'll make the message that much more powerful. But the other thing that's really unique about this plan is that by using social media, leading up to these various days, and they're kind of scheduled throughout the school year. I made a video, and I can plug the video in the chat that really details this out. But what we're going to do is we're going to start all collectively commenting and tagging various like musical celebrities, high profile musicians and artists, like various influencers, but specifically politicians as well on social media. So, you know, if we get like 1,000 people to all go after, go tweet at Cory Booker or go to Cory Booker's Instagram account and say, hey, will you lend your voice for our movement? Elevating the need for music and arts education, and all of a sudden 1,000 people say the same message, and they're all students in a time where there's so much division, in a time when there's so much anger and not a lot of hope for what the future can look like. For students to come up and say, hey, well, whatever the future looks like, we need music and arts education, and this is our opportunity to teach you why. That'll be something that's really powerful. And that'll make an impact for generations to come, because we've never had in the history of our country a movement that students were able to get behind and push music and arts education into the forefront of everything in a way that just hasn't happened before. And that's really the elevator pitch. Like, this is Arts Education Week right now. That was one of the first checkpoints for how we can do this. We started the movement back in August, and it was kind of a test to see how we can actually make it happen. And we had about 150 people use their social media to systematically target people. And it was like, wow, this is going to be phenomenal if we get like everybody behind this. So it's like, if we start going into all the colleges, you know, maybe we start with New Jersey. You know, we start going into all the various arts colleges in New Jersey, and all the college kids start saying, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And then that trickles down into all the high schools. And then you start copying and pasting that model of influence into all the states. And then even other countries can get behind that. With our Worldwide Day of Gratitude, we had other countries come in. And, you know, once again, there's not a lot of hope out there right now. And to create hope for the future with music and arts ed, killer.
I had to applaud. That was great. Seriously. I mean, that was like, couldn't have said it any better.
So with that extraordinarily inspirational speech, where can we find more information? I know you said your website, but what is that specifically?
So I'm dropping a link right here. This is a video for what it could actually look like. On our website, which I'm also going to drop a link to, we have a student advocacy button. And on that button, there is another button where you can join our email list, and it's a join the movement button. And if you do that, then we get to start keeping track of how many people have actually signed up. And once we get to this 1,000 people have signed up on our email list, we'll be able to like really push this domino down that's going to create all this other influence. Because once you get 1,000, you can break through any of the algorithms of social media.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I will be doing that with all of my accounts that I have access to. I hope everyone does that with their Instagrams, with their everything. Thank you so much for everyone who's been on. Let's do a round of applause for all the panelists, for the hosts, everyone. And I am so thankful to have you on here. Arts Ed and Jay is so happy to have you here. And is there any closing statements before we wish everyone a good night?
I just wanted to add that I really like all that Andrew just said, and that movement is so great because so many of my fellow peers also talk about how they're lonely and depressed in these times, and that's where art education is really so important right now and so necessary, because it really helps us bring us all together. It brings up unity.
Absolutely. It's such an innately human thing to create art, and and it's such a cohesive community building thing, and it's so exciting that you are part of this community, that you all are part of this community, and I am so excited to engage with that more. So with that, thank you everyone who tuned in, thank you everyone who was part of it, and thank you everyone in the future who tunes in. This will be on YouTube in about a half hour. So thank you and stay safe. Bye. Okay. I don't know. I think live on Facebook. So everyone can exit.